What were you gonna say? Jump in
I was
real,
going to
real
say
quick.
a guy that is ranked, Edgar Berlanga, number 4 by the IBF for super middleweight. Signed a new
Yeah.
deal with Matchroom Boxing, a multi-fight deal. You got some quotes from there as well.
So after leaving Top Rank, because let's remember, Edgar Berlanga, I have a little bit of history for people who don't know who the fuck I am. I have a little bit of history with Edgar Berlanga. Not bad or anything like that. None of it bad. But like, so we filmed me, my partner Dexter Henry, and I, my partner, I would say, not
Shout out to
partner,
Dex.
because partner wouldn't, yeah, partner. Um, Matthew Finiza, shout out. Luis Velez, shout out. We shot a documentary called La Cultura, Puerto Rican boxing story. Your boy was a producer and a correspondent of the piece, and this was in 2018, and it covered 3 Puerto Rican boxers, one of whom being Edgar Berlanga, the other 2 being Matthew Gonzalez, who recently sparred with Amanda Serrano, and the other being Zachary Ochoa, who fought Brandon Lee last year. And we were following them in 2018 ahead of this card at the King's Theater, day before the Puerto Rican Day Parade. Always a big deal to fight day before the Puerto Rican Day Parade if you're Puerto Rican, right? Miguel Cotto made this his home and went undefeated in fighting the day before the Puerto Rican Day Parade. So Edgar Berlanga was positioned to be that guy. He actually fought the day before the Puerto Rican Day Parade in 2022. So we covered him in that documentary. He was great. He got a first-round knockout. It was part of the streak. He was like 8-0 going into that fight. This was before Top Rank. He was fighting on an Evander Holyfield card at the King's Theater of Brooklyn, New York. So fast forward, excuse me, he has become a star in terms of like, in boxing circles, somebody who's like perceived as this rising star, blue chip prospect type. And we've seen some warts in this game over the last few fights. From what I heard, some people not surprised in Brooklyn or whatever the case may be, but that's neither here nor there. And Edgar Berlanga and Top Rank had some sort of dispute, and now he's going to Matchroom on a multi-fight deal, which not surprising because it seemed like that was the case. So, Shantelle, before I get into these quotes, you mentioned this, so I just want to, for the people, just to echo this point. Edgar Berlanga, as of this recording, ranked number 4 by the WBO in the super middleweight division. So, nearing a title shot there in theory. The IBF has him also ranked number 4 in the super middleweight division. The WBA has him 6th. And in the WBC rankings, he is nowhere to be found. Usually the case. Usually there's always one that just kind of leaves you off entirely. So it is what it is. Now, in terms of the quotes from the presser or from the release, the Matchroom release, because it was a press release here. And they noted all the rankings and things of that nature. And the name that I kept seeing was Canelo Alvarez. And the plan, hold on, Shantelle, hold on. I'm gonna let you get going in a second. Hold on, I already see it. The plan seems to be to lead into the next version of Mexico versus Puerto Rico being Canelo Alvarez versus Edgar Berlanga. And as someone who on his YouTube channel did somewhat of an oral history of the top 10 fights between Mexico and Puerto Rico, Puerto Rican fighters, I would be very invested in this fight. I also know that Edgar Berlanga will probably get his ass kicked by Canelo Alvarez. That's fucking Canelo Alvarez. Okay. So here's one quote. I'm excited to start my new journey with the best promoter in the world, the legend Eddie Hearn, Edgar Berlanga said. I'm looking to build my legacy in the sport of boxing. I want to thank my manager, blah, 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 blah. I'm looking for big fights. This is where it gets interesting. I'm looking for big fights, and I know the signing with Matchroom was the right choice to get me where I want to go. I'm humbled by this opportunity, and I would dedicate myself into being the best 168-pounder in the world. My main goal is to land the Canelo fight and renew the greatest rivalry in boxing, Mexico versus Puerto Rico. Then Eddie Hearn said a couple things, but he claimed that there was a bidding war for Edgar Berlanga, which I don't doubt necessarily, but he won out. Yeah. So Shantelle, where are we at with this? And where are you at with this?
Well, that's one of my favorite, I guess, rivalries, Puerto Rico, Mexico, in boxing. It's one of the best of all time. You did a great job as well when you put that together on your YouTube. He's not ready for Canelo. Struggled against Steve Rolls. I love Steve Rolls. He's Canadian. But come on, man. You should be knocking out Steve Rolls. You should also be knocking out Romer Alexis. And I'm not actually surprised that Edgar Berlanga left. However, this is a guy that had a crazy knockout streak. Top Rank was hyping him up. And I feel like he was set up essentially to fail, right? Because how do you follow that knockout streak up? And then you have mid performances, below mid performances against guys you should be knocking out. So hopefully this is a good step for Edgar Berlanga. Nowhere near ready for Canelo. Canelo knocks him out, gets the stoppage, because we know that Edgar Berlanga's chin is a little bit sus. We know it's a little bit sus, right?
He got not, look. One of the things that I was told, or from someone who I will not name, they had told me, and this is a boxing trainer from New York, basically, is how I'll word this. And the person said that they think Edgar Berlanga's team is sort of rushing him to the top because they don't trust his chin. The person proceeded to tell me, or show me rather, on YouTube a video of him getting clipped as an amateur, got knocked flat out.
And you sent me that video.
Yeah.
And yeah, so his chin is
and to that point, Shantelle, real quick, sorry. To that point, do I gotta say sorry? It's cool.
No. I mean, you called me a dickhead earlier.
I didn't.
I mean, all rules are off here now. No, I'm just playing.
Okay, so Edgar Berlanga's knockout streak, as you alluded to, 16-0 with 16 first-round knockouts, all in the first round. He was signed to Top Rank amid this, right? He wasn't there at the beginning, but they brought him there. He got a couple more knockouts. Then he fought Demon Nicholson, who he knocked down, but it was brought to a decision. And you saw that fight, and it was like, all right, finally got some rounds. Cool.
And that's the thing. Like, when he was knocking out everyone in the first round, they were like, but he needs to get experience in the ring. He needs to go the distance. And he did. And we were like, okay, that's cool. But when he comes back for the next fight, we want him to knock someone out.
Right. And then he fights Marcelo Cortez. And this was T-Mobile Arena. This was on the Wilder Fury undercard. And this was like on ESPN before they go to pay-per-view, like that sort of last fight from the undercard before they go to the main card type of joint. He fought Marcelo not Cortez, my bad. Coceres. And he won the WBA super middleweight title. However, it was unanimous decision, 96-93 straight through. And Berlanga was knocked down in round 9. You saw him visibly tire out and then got dropped. And then the Steve Rose fight, underwhelming performance. And then the Romero Angulo fight, underwhelming performance. And Steve Rose had been knocked out by Triple G, I think 3 years prior or something like that. And he's just not at the point where a Canelo fight is something that makes sense. So quickly before we wrap here, is there somebody in particular you would like to see him against as I pull up the rankings here?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. But I mean, David Morrell, I think, would be a good test for him.
Although that's not going to happen promotionally, is it?
No. I mean, we know boxing politics. I think Daniel Jacobs could be interesting.
That's a fight you could actually make, but I don't think he wins that fight.
No, he doesn't. And that's the thing. He doesn't win that fight. But if he can't win against Daniel Jacobs, you're not going to win against Canelo Alvarez. There's no way, right? Like, here's the thing. Like, Edgar Berlanga is being set up to fail. I hate that. He goes on this knockout streak. Then we're like, yo, he needs to go the distance. Goes the distance. Then he has 2 underwhelming performances. And we're just like, man, and now he's moving to a Matchroom, and the road is Canelo. But I don't think he beats Daniel Jacobs, and I think David Morrell is a really tough fight for him. Another guy that I think he could fight, but he's also young, so I don't think they make this fight, is Diego Pacheco. Two young guys. Who do you think
wins that fight, though? Like, be honest.
I think Diego Pacheco wins, the kid from LA, and maybe I'm being a little bit biased there, West Coast biased there, but I like Diego Pacheco. I think he's getting better in every fight. But those are a couple of names. Here's an interesting one. It would be a lose-lose situation, but what if he fought Chris Eubank Jr.?
Ooh, I would love that, though. I would absolutely love that. But Chris Eubank apparently he's gonna take the rematch with Liam Smith. But you've done some pretty good matchmaking here, because Chris Eubank Jr. is fascinating. I am glued to the potential of him fighting Daniel Jacobs. I think Canelo's going to fight John Ryder in May. I know Berlanga had called out John Ryder previously. That's a fight I would actually like to see get made, because I assume that his first challenge is not going to be anyone who can seriously knock him off. It's going to be one of these stay busy fights, or rather one of these just showcase fights. He'll knock a guy out that probably has no chin. And then from there, I think he can move into the John Ryder fight, or potentially, something along those lines. gradually move him up. I would love to see Edgar Berlanga versus Danny Jacobs at Barclays Center, though, as a New Yorker.
That would be a
And
big fight.
two dudes from New York, from Brooklyn. I would love to see that fight get made, but I don't think he's winning that fight.
No.
You know, so I mean,
What if he,
unless he's gotten a lot better. Like to be fair to Edgar Berlanga here, he's also really young, right? Guys can
very
improve.
young?
I just don't know. Like we haven't seen it yet, so it's one of these cases where it's like this is kind of something that you saw with Deontay Wilder to some degree. Like when is he going to add, you know, more of a well-roundedness to his game? The difference is Deontay Wilder doesn't necessarily have to, because he can kill you, and because he has maybe the he has maybe the most
kill you.
Yeah, he has probably the most devastating one-punch power ever of my lifetime. He does, you know.
No, he'll tuck you in for a nap.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll be laid out. It will be a nap turned into a sleep. Like that's how real his power is. So what if this just came to me right now? What if he fought a guy like Ryota Murata?
Sure. Yeah.
Right? Like
Why
think
not?
about it, like a guy
What's Sulecki doing these days? You know what I mean?
they have to, I don't think they should put him into a fight. Like they have to gradually get him there.
Mhm.
So and listen, a
Build
guy
him
like
back up.
Ryota Murata in Japan, like he's beloved, right? Olympic champion. And so that's maybe a fight that could possibly happen, but really interesting to see what's going to happen with Edgar Berlanga as he gets on his road to possibly fight Canelo Alvarez. Let us know on YouTube. Let us know on our social media channels. Who do you want to see Edgar Berlanga fight? And if you do drop a name, let us know if you think he wins that one. And make sure to follow us on our social media platforms at The Mandatory TKO. It's like that on Twitter, IG, and TikTok. And also